Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Multi-Location Marketing Leader. I'm your host, Erin Martin, and this episode is brought to you by Netsertive, a marketing partner who can help you run better localized marketing programs. Today, our guest is Roger Martin. He's the co-founder and CEO of ThriveMore Brands. We've actually had him on the podcast before to talk all things RockBox Fitness, which is a brand under ThriveMore, and now I'm excited to dig into your latest brand, Beem Light Sauna. So Roger, thanks for joining us again.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Aaron. I appreciate it. I really had an enjoyable experience that first time. So I appreciate the invite back. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I was looking back. Literally, I think it was a year since our last episode to the date, January. So I'm excited to catch up again. And so I think a good place to start, maybe just to catch up our listeners, to give you some background on you. And so just tell me a little bit more about your role and what you do at ThriveMore Brands.
Sure. Great question. So ThriveMore is a health and wellness franchising platform. As most people listening to this and most of the marketers listening to this very well know now, there is a great opportunity to build an entire platform of brands versus having just one category killer, if you will, of a brand. And we'll speak about that later because I'm a big believer in category killers, actually. But we realized as we grew RockBox Fitness, and we're at 50 open locations, 150 licenses awarded. We have 6 in pre-launch currently. We should have over 70 studios open by the end of the year. So that brand is doing well, even in a hyper-competitive fitness market. But we realized, wow, we have an entire team here. We have built an in-house capability around digital marketing. So we have an in-house agency. We have built real estate capabilities. We built build-out. We have a build-out team to help with the brick and mortar build-outs, social media expertise in-house that we went out and found, and of course, sales and operations. But when you have all that and it's only going towards one brand, you realize we could bring on another brand, a complementary brand that would be, go twice as fast, quite frankly, or 3 times as fast because we have the team built and you don't have to go out and find the talent. You don't have to, create a crazy different strategy if the brands have some commonalities. And so when we started looking for a second brand, we looked for complementary brick and mortar service self-care brands that would help, dovetail RockBox. And so we knew we didn't want another fitness company because I really don't want to be the franchisor that, has one competitor in the strip mall and 3 doors down is another one of our brands that's competing with, our other franchisees. So we really wanted to do something that if a multi-unit franchisee wanted to be a multi-brand franchisee, they could acquire those licenses from us to accomplish their wealth building goals, but be under the same roof. And so that's how ThriveMore came about. ThriveMore Brands is really just an operating umbrella company that is over our current 2 brands, RockBox Fitness and then Beem Light Sauna. I can do a little history on Beem Light Sauna here in a second. And we are actively in the hunt for a 3rd, a 4th, and a 5th brand that meet our criteria that are really focused on health and wellness. I think self-care is even a further niching down of that, that is really starting to see its day, and it should, because we need to invest more in our own self-care. As a nation, we've gone way too long of not investing in that. I think 2020 kind of showed that to everybody. So yes, we have RockBox Fitness, Beem Light Sauna, and then those that are listening, if you have a brand that is established and already launched, but is looking for help and is looking for, a real true partnership to grow and come under the ThriveMore brand, I'm available on LinkedIn and would love to have, further conversations around that because we're actively going about this to build this platform.
Yeah. And I'm curious on those efficiencies, like the in-house technologies and teams and processes that you have to scale. Like, where do you see that working well and then breaking? So you talked about your ideal qualifications of that additional brand. Like, where does it make sense to have a platform of, those suites of services that can do more for all of them versus where does that not fit in your experience?
Yeah. Great question. So I believe that, in the vast majority of your business, if you set up your strategic plan right, if you set up your business structure, your org structure correctly, you have and I know I lived through, I was a professional in the 90s when matrix organizations were all the rage, you had to kind of like this thing and you reported this way and up this way and sideways. And nobody really knew who they reported to, what they were supposed to do. But, it was kind of all the rage back then. I believe in a very simple hierarchy that people know what my role is, what do I need to accomplish, how do I know that I won today, how do I know I'm going to win this quarter and then win this year. And so we start every year with just a very clear strategic plan. We go offsite like you should and have that 2-day event where we're getting down into the weeds so we can come back up with our strategic objectives and focus on the few things that matter. I'm not telling anybody this podcast, something they don't already know, that you should spend 80% of your time on that 20% that is going to move the needle. And it's so easy to get buried in the other stuff. And it's so easy for your organization. If you're a leader of your organization or a leader of your marketing department, it's so easy to get caught up in the daily emails and get caught up in being busy and getting a lot of things checked off, but you haven't moved the needle and you haven't built your brand. And so the simple answer to your question is the core competencies that will drive revenue, that will drive profitability at the franchise level, and will drive enterprise value in your organization, you should internalize and keep inside. Now, that doesn't mean, and obviously, I know this podcast is sponsored by Netsertive, which is an awesome marketing firm. There are a lot of firms that don't have a good in-house marketing capability. They may have a good in-house marketer, but they don't have that department. They can't afford that department, or that's just not their strength. They're an operation. Maybe they were a founder that were strong in operations, and that's why their unit does so well. My background was 25 years in sales and marketing, so it only made sense that was one of the core competencies that we brought inside. Same thing with franchise development. Franchise development is the engine that makes all of our franchisor businesses go. Without franchise development, you don't have new franchisees and you don't grow. That, a lot of people will give 100% to an FSO and then to the broker, to the franchise consultant network. We proudly work with franchise broker groups and we use an FSO for beem, but we also have some internal capability too, because that's a core competency that moves the needle. There are other things that do not make sense. Real estate, we have a real estate person on site, but we use 2 national firms that everybody would know their names, that are the best of the best. And we went out and selected those partners because we did a lot of research and found out, did some quality checks, and they were the best of the best. So why build an internal real estate, development team and have brokers on staff and all that when you have excellent partners outside? Because that's not a core competency. Only real estate I've ever done is when I bought or sold a house, right? So, and I've leased a lot of commercial spaces because of the business I'm in. But as far as, going out and finding those spaces, we have expertise to do that and the systems to do that that have been built outside our company. So I guess it wasn't a short answer to your question, but the long answer is I think every company, every marketer needs to look at, and let's break it down one more level. If you're a marketer, you also may choose to outsource certain things. We outsourced our web design for RockBox Fitness to Scorpion, right? We sent out to them. They are better at SEO than we are. SEO is one of those things that they're better. You guys are better at it than we are. And we consider and say, yeah, we know the right keywords. We know how to do this, but we don't. And so we pay for that. We pay for that extra. But from placed digital marketing, from social media marketing, paid ads, Google PPC, LinkedIn, we've built the core expertise around that because that moves the needle. And so we better bring that inside. Long-winded answer to your question, but I think there's not a simple answer. It depends on what does your personnel have a core strength in, or willing to go get that core strength in and make it a core competency. And no, you cannot be great at everything. You have to choose what 2 or 3 things are we going to own and be great at. And then the rest we're going to outsource. We're going to find great companies like yours that can do it better, that have the systems. And we just partner with those companies and we like long-term partnerships, quite frankly.
Yeah, which reminds me very much of just that similar approach with your own, marketing team. Like you're trying to build the best team, the best engine possible. So you have to look at your own personal strengths of like, all right, I can do this well, but like I suck over here. I need someone on the team who can fill that gap or be like the yin to my yang personality wise to build that robust and healthy, diverse team together too. Which I love that approach because on the flip side, I see a lot of platform companies and brands that end up with a lot of brands underneath them. And then they had a ton of different, vendors that they use or like are outsourcing everything. So then it's like there's got to be in that giant, mess of everything that's going
Uh,
on. It seems like there could be some better efficiencies gained, but it's never quite gotten to that point of maybe taking marketing in house or any of that.
yep.
So, yeah, I like your guys' approach to that.
It certainly is, it's intention. We have set the intention that as we're building this platform, one, we want to build a bulletproof business so that the partners and the investors in the business have a great return. As importantly, or more importantly, the franchisees that invest into this business with their own money and in their own brick and mortar, that they have an outstanding return and opportunity to build wealth. But it is about setting intention because again, we'll go back and if you go back and not do it with intention, then you're going to start tackling all that to-do list and you're going to get to the bottom of it every day or not and go home and not really know, did we move the needle? And I think if we can say, hey, in this area, we have a core competency, this area, we have a core competency, this area, we're building a core competency, we're crushing it. These other 4 areas, who are our partners? Are we having regular meetings with them? Are they meeting our needs? Are we meeting their needs? Are we working within their systems? Because I think that's an area too, where whether you're outsourcing, construction project management, or you're outsourcing HR or whatever it is, or you're outsourcing marketing, I think a lot of times, and maybe because I've been on the business to business side of selling those services, a lot of times the customers try to force their ways of doing it into the outsource provider, which defeats the whole purpose of outsourcing. When you outsource, you have the opportunity and the control, and you have to have the trust, right? You have to have trust. But
Hmm.
if you can have that trust and take time to build that trust before you launch that partnership, then you can move at the speed of trust, which is the fastest you can go. Hey, we're going to do this for you because it's in your best interest. All right, go for it. What's the budget? 50 grand. Okay, that works. Yep, go. Because you trust your outsourced partner. And I think so many times I've seen so many businesses, which is not too different than franchising, where you give them a great system that works, the play works, just run the play. And people, some franchisees will want to change that, which makes no sense because it's a proven formula. It's no different than outsourcing when a company tries to force their ways or their needs, into a system that wasn't built for that. First, allow the system to work for you. And then if it doesn't work, you can make some tweaks or it's not the right partner. But we've been intentional about that as well. So when we find a partner, we stay with that partner for a long time because they learn how to work with us and we learn how to work within their system.
Yeah. I love that. I love that quote, move at the speed of trust. That's so true.
Yep. That's
Life.
amen. Amen. When you have trust, you can go at light speed. When you don't, it is a slog. It is a
Yes.
slog. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone has less fun. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And one thing I remember specifically about our last conversation with Rockbox too, I remember that what you guys did incredibly well was building a differentiated brand too within the boutique fitness space. Like being a brand that does things differently, different feel, like whole different vibe with the brand. So I'm curious to learn a little bit more about Beam in general, and then how you thought about building another brand that's differentiated, like from that ground up.
Sure. Sure. So the real short story on how we got to Beam, I'll just share with you, is I was introduced to a woman named Cynthia Wagner, and Cynthia had created an infrared sauna studio really out of the love of a mother for her daughter. Cynthia's daughter had contracted Lyme's disease when they lived up in the Washington, D.C. area. And she was a vibrant, healthy young teenager. And it just plucked the life out of her. Lyme disease can be debilitating. And so you had this high school, this young high school woman who was living a great life, playing sports and all that, just bedridden and didn't have energy to do anything after a ridiculous amount of antibiotics, I guess they gave her, and all these different regimens and whatnot. An integrated functional medicine doctor, so an MD, but who practices medicine through a more integrative holistic approach, said, "Has she tried infrared sauna?" And Cynthia's answer was no. And so they had to find an infrared sauna booth or cabin, if you will, around them. And the closest one was 45 minutes away at a dermatology office. And so they would go there 3 to 4 times per week, 45 minutes each way to let her get a 40-minute treatment. But after, I think, 6, 8 weeks doing that, her Lyme's disease went into remission because infrared sauna, the nature of it, it boosts your immune system because it raises your core temperature, which kicks off your white blood cell count, and it your body thinks literally I have a fever in a good way, and so I need to kick
Oh,
off my immune system. And so people
yeah.
that have autoimmune diseases a lot of times will seek out infrared sauna services, and it's great. It lowers inflammation. Inflammation is part of Lyme disease, and so all these things were just benefits for her daughter. So when she and her family relocated down to Charlotte, she was a very successful entrepreneur in the like a $1 million hair salon and high end salon. She sold that. They moved south, and she couldn't find an infrared sauna. She said, "I'm going to start a business. Like my next business, I want to start this infrared sauna studio." And one thing that she was looking for, which is funny because we were looking for this too in our second brand, is less reliance on a human being delivering a consistent experience. And that's a mouthful, and it's way easier said than done. And in today's labor pool, I think we've all had experiences recently where we've gotten less than ideal customer service, and people just don't seem to be as motivated at the counter as they used to be.
Hmm.
So we wanted to make sure that so she didn't want to have to deal with stylists and creative people, and wanted more machines to do the work. And so the infrared sauna business was perfect. So she launched the concept, different name, a little smaller studio in just one modality, which is infrared sauna. Uh, we got together. I always want to make sure that a business is promotionally sensitive. That's my background, right? So I want to make sure, hey, is this promotionally sensitive? So I ran a lot of traffic for her business and did different, A/B testing and creative dynamic and all that stuff to see what would work, and the response rate was outstanding.
So
Because
this
she
was
hadn't been
even
there.
before, this was like in a conversation stage with her. You were running stuff, even just like during the discovery exploratory, like, let's throw some marketing at it, test this
You
out.
got it. You got it.
Nice.
How many, I mean, if we're honest, how many great business ideas in a conference room are not great when you go out and you really test it, right? And you do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite sayings, I love this physician out of Henry Ford Medical System that I used to work with, has a saying. He's like, there's nothing worse than a beautiful hypothesis being spoiled by ugly fact. Right. And so we want to make sure that our hypothesis can stand up to the facts. And so, yeah, we looked at, was this promotionally sensitive? Could we drive traffic to her studio? Could we sell memberships at a higher price? Could we revamp her pricing model and her recurring membership model? And she was open to all of this. Very savvy businesswoman, but also knows what she doesn't know, or aware, I don't know everything. And so what helped me really systematize this. And so we ended up putting a deal together, and she came in as a partner, and Jeff Duden and myself, and Jeff was Homefront Brands and many other things, and had a great exit with Advantage Clean, and is also a partner with me in RockBox. We formed this partnership for what we renamed Beam Light Sauna. So the reason it's named Beam Light Sauna, to get back to your original question, is most of the other brands out there, be it a mom and pop, or be it, there's only one or two other franchises that even exist in the space. They're all focused on heat and sweat. Sweat's kind of nasty, quite frankly, right? And so we really went to the science that infrared is light. It's not heat. It's infrared it's light that we can't see, that we experience as heat because it penetrates into our cells and causes cell turnover, healthy cell turnover. Starts the spurs mitochondria, which kicks off the ATP process, which is how our body repairs itself. But it's the light that is actually doing that. And so we really made an intentional play to name the business Beam Light Sauna, so that when somebody comes in and says, "What's a light sauna?" We've won, right? You win if you can get this person into the conversation. And if you say, Beam Sauna, or hot saunas are us, or whatever, other people name their businesses, people automatically go, I know what that is. And I either like it or I don't. But if I don't, you're never going to get them to click, never going to get them to walk in, any of that. And so we purposely called it Beam Light Sauna because we want to own light. We want to own the category of light. People can have sweat, they can have heat, they can have all that, and cry when it's cold. That's fine. We're going to own light, and Beam will become a verb. You can take that to the bank. Beam will become, you don't search something on the internet, you Google it. You're not going to go sauna. You're going to go Beam. And, we're just the beginning of this journey, but In the first 7 months, we've awarded 52 licenses already. We were having discovery days this month even. Well, we're in February now, but I guess we've had 2 discovery days per month because we've had such demand, because people are reading about celebrities, athletes, medical professionals are recommending, Joe Rogan on his
Yeah.
podcast recommends sauna, and infrared sauna specifically is 7 times more detoxifying than a regular sauna. There's reasons why for that, but that's kind of how we got into this partnership. It was a mother's love for her daughter. She started it. And then one thing I'm a big believer in is, if you're a franchisor, and there's a lot of executives in the franchising business, that I speak with, but most of them have not put their own money into a unit. So if you have an executive that comes in and you acquire a brand, rarely will they say, you know what, I'm going to take $400,000 of my own money and I'm going to go open one of these up, and I'm going to hire my staff, and I'm going to do a pre-launch, and I'm going to do that. And the last time you and I spoke, I believe I was in a WeWork office down at my Beam Light Sauna above it, but just doing work up there because we were in the middle of a pre-launch. And so I have to be an executive, to manage a brand. I feel like I have to know that brand inside and out. I have to know that business operationally inside and out. Only way I can do that in a genuine, authentic way is to take my own money and my own bank account. Not corporate. We don't have any corporate stores. RockBox or Beam Light Sauna, no corporate stores. We have partner owned stores that are owned 100% by that partner with their own money. Cynthia has taken her own money. I've taken my own money. Jeff owns several RockBoxes, because I think it shows your franchisee, I'm willing to do this as well. Like, I'm not saying this is a great
Yeah.
hypothesis and it may get spoiled by ugly fact. And no, this is a great hypothesis. And let me show you in the FDD on my team how much money I'm making from this location, because I believe in this concept. And yes, we found a lot of things that were broken and we needed to fix while I was opening the second location, so that when we open the third and the fourth and all the franchises, we've got that figured out. But again, I think it gets back to that word intentionality.
Yeah. And yeah, talk about, absolutely knowing something inside and out in terms of like, moving at the speed of trust. It's like moving at the speed of knowing, when you know every element of the business so well, like that adds a level of, I think, speed and then trust as well. Like you just said
Sure.
with franchisees, like that
Yep.
takes it to a new level.
Yep.
So I'm curious with Beam then, even like as you were kind of pre-testing and like thinking about this concept, like, how far did you go with naming? Like, were you testing some of the names out there? Did you creatively just think about it? Like, what other aspects were you thinking about in that initial phase in terms of like the marketing and building the brand as well?
Yeah. So as much as I love to come on your podcast and talk about marketing, I am probably the least creative marketer that you've ever had on your podcast, but I know that about myself. So the very first check that we cut was to an external outsourced vendor that we've used in the past. That's a creative designer, and he's got a little boutique shop here in Charlotte. And I'd worked with him in he actually did RockBox, same guy that did RockBox, and he worked with me in some pharmaceutical companies that I had worked in. So high level of trust with this gentleman. We brought him in, and he went through all of the naming conventions. We also had another person on our really development team. There were 4 of us that really kind of built this brand from the ground up and sat in a room for hours upon hours. We also rented a room out of our headquarters office here. We've got 11,000 square feet here. We actually rented another office to literally make it like a skunk works offsite thing, so that we could really sit in that office, put paper all over the walls and the customer journey and all that, and it wouldn't interfere with what we were doing with RockBox at the time. So we outsourced. We had a guy on our team that was like a long-term consultant for us, and then another person that we outsourced to hire their expertise. And so that's how Beam came up. I'd love to tell you I thought of the name. I did not. I'd love to tell you I thought of Light Sauna. I did not. But what I am fairly good at is getting the teams together that can bring that creativity and have that vision that I don't have. And that kind of leads to, what I think you asked earlier is, how does the brand differentiated? Well, once you're in the sauna, a sauna is kind of a sauna is kind of a sauna. If it's an infrared sauna and it's the highest quality full spectrum infrared sauna, which is all we purchase, but it's not like group fitness where you're fist bumping people and you see each other and you get those relationships. once you come into the studio and you're greeted and you go through, and I'll explain kind of how technology is separating us, but you go through that process. Once you're in the sauna, the customer differentiation is a little less because you're not interacting with a customer. So we thought, okay, we know that's the issue. How do we minimize the impact that a human being could have on the initial experience, the customer journey, without eliminating the human being, but minimizing the ability for that human, and we're all fallible, certainly me. And how do we minimize that, but yet standardize the customer journey through technology so that we are differentiated? So we, again, I'd love to tell you this was my idea, but it wasn't. We came up with this technology that we've trademarked as Lumi, Luumi. Lumi is she's all knowing, if you will, and she is on a 50-inch screen. She's a voice that takes you through a questionnaire and intake process. Why are you here? Is it weight loss? Are you looking to improve your skincare? Are you looking to, do you have inflammation? Do you have injuries you're recovering from? And then she'll take you further down the journey. And then she explains and shows the video what infrared sauna is, because 70% of the people that come into to Beam Studios have never done infrared. They've seen Kim Kardashian do it. They see Steph Curry does it. And they know they want to do it, but they've never done it. And they always want to know, like, what's happening to me in here? Am I going to tan? Am I going to,
What is this?
Yeah, exactly. And so we have these really descriptive videos that are really slick that show this in the lobby, and they're a little private video tutorial that's customized to them. And what we found with that, the reason we designed that, is that we had the decision tree and the code, all that written by an outsourced provider. I don't know a damn thing about code, so that was outsourced, 100%. And then we just tweaked along the way. But what's great is when somebody comes in, of course, they're greeted with a very standard greeting and a whole franchise process, if you will, to onboard that, to acquire the lead, nurture the lead, get them to show, and go through. So come in though, they go over to Lumi, and then they go through that intake process, which is so thorough. It's only about 5 minutes, but it's very thorough. So they feel so much more comfortable and bought into the science. We even went as far to hire a British voice actress. So
Nice.
we would wire money to this woman in the UK and scripts to her, and then she would send
Yeah.
WAV files back, and we put, because
Uh-huh.
of course, a British accent adds 20 points to your IQ, right? So
Uh-huh. Yep.
yeah. So what we want to do is we want to edify Lumi, this being, as the all-knowing expert on everything light therapy, which would include infrared. It also includes chromotherapy. It includes red light therapy. We have dedicated red light beds that are different than infrared, and they work on your body in a different way. And she is the all-knowing expert, which is great because she also lives on the iPad. So when you're in the studio, in the sauna, in your private sauna, you can interact with her on the iPad if you so choose and learn more. You can order supplements that we have in studio, different things, and they're waiting for you when you come out. And then when you come out, if it's your first time experience, when you come out, Lumi will have recommended a protocol, if you will, that, is it 2 times a week? Is it 3 to 5 times a week? And it depends on what the person's schedule is and their availability. What we found, Aaron, is that if we edify her and she makes the recommendation, then you don't have a 19-year-old kid at the front desk who's, doing this for a
Yeah.
part-time college job, that either doesn't even ask or doesn't recommend or says, I don't know, how often you want to come? And then it's a very informal, sloppy process. And so franchising, you want everything really tight. And so Lumi has helped us to really have a tight process, and that there is a recommendation. We see a much higher uptake rate, membership joining rate, and retention rate as well, because people actually understand why they're coming. Not just, I feel good, I relax, I can watch Netflix, or I can read a book. They understand the health benefits they're getting because we took the time through Lumi in that very, very first interaction.
Yeah. And I would think that recommending to a friend and word of mouth would be a lot more as well, because they can actually, speak to it to someone else. Like, instead of, I
Exactly.
tried this weird thing, it was kind of cool. Like,
We found where, because skincare, the near infrared, so there's near, mid, and far infrared. Near infrared can only really penetrate the dermis and epidermis, so it causes healthy cell turnover in your skin. And when you get older like me, that cell turnover happens much slower. That's why a baby has gorgeous skin, because their cells are turning over so fast, and that slows down as we get older. But near infrared can actually expedite that process, and you have more healthy cell turnover. And we've had people come in where they came in for weight loss, and that's what they're pushing because you burn out 600 calories per session while you're watching Netflix, which is kind of cool. But they'll see that skincare is one of the main benefits, one of the core therapy. We have 6 core therapies, and it's one of the core therapies. And they'll go home and tell their roommate or somebody who may have acne or may have rosacea or eczema, one of the things that treats, which I didn't even know, was skincare. You should go check it out. And we've had, many friends and referrals come in for different benefits, different core benefits than actually their friend came in and they said, hey, they said that this could possibly help with XYZ. So of course
Yeah.
we don't diagnose or treat medical conditions. That's, our saunas and our studios are all they're medical grade, red light medical grade saunas, but our model does not require a medical director nor a nurse practitioner on site, whatever. You don't have to be licensed for that. Thank goodness.
Yeah. And I love that brand birth story is what I'll call it. Brand birth story. Again, because I think it's like very intentional. Like from the get-go, it's not enough to just have an infrared sauna. Like what else are you doing to differentiate it? And you guys thought through it and are making an amazing experience with technology that solves for a lot of the problems
Yep.
downstream that, brands and marketers get in trouble with, adoption and like talk tracks that are the same, asking for recommendations, coaching staff, like all of those things are solved for up front, which is awesome.
Uh, you said it exactly. It's if you can minimize the variability, and we always use the McDonald's example, which I don't think is the best example anymore. I think Chick-fil-A is a much better example of just consistent customer experience and consistent feed. But they set that intentionality up front, right? And you know what you're going to expect, and they've minimized because of the scripts, and again, everything we have is scripted and role played and rehearsed so that it feels like magic to the consumer. But of course, behind the scenes, behind the curtain, he worked really hard to get it there. But it's because you want that experience to be the same every single time in a franchise, especially in a franchise.
Yeah. And so where would you think that other either leaders or marketers go wrong with building a platform company? Or I guess on the flip side, not just go wrong, but like what recommendations would you have for them outside of the stuff that we talked about too, when trying to
I think,
build a
yeah,
platform brand?
Aaron, I think you alluded to it earlier. They'll take a bunch of concepts and put them together, even if they're somewhat related in wellness or home service, but they just bolt them all on without ever stopping and saying, okay, how does it fit in? What extraneous processes can we purge from this brand that may be legacy process? Why do we do it that way? Well, that's the way we've always done it. Terrible reason, right? So,
Yeah.
I one is, a lot of times we're self-funded. We're financed by myself, the partners. But a lot of times private equity comes into these platforms, and then it's all about speed because they only have so much time to place that money, harvest that money, and return that money. And so sometimes it becomes a feeding frenzy of just finding other brands to bolt on to boost the EBITDA. They may, right size or fancy word for firing people to boost the EBITDA, but they've really not built value. They boosted EBITDA, but they haven't built value. Building value is taking the puzzle pieces and putting them together. If the puzzle piece doesn't fit, you don't buy it. If you did and you realize it doesn't fit, then you sell it. Even if you're going to take a hit on that, you sell it because it will only slow your business down. So I think that a lot of brands go wrong. And this is true with acquisitions, giant mergers. It becomes inefficient and the value is not maximized because they're bolting on versus let's actually marry this other brand into our processes. Like everybody here in our offices here, we have some specific RockBox people and specific Beam Light Sauna people, but everyone is really charging up the same bill, if you will. And we don't run our marketing process and all that is the same for Beam, and our customer acquisition process is the same for Beam as it is for RockBox because it works because it's the same consumer, by the way. That when the market that the companies we're looking for to add are really going after that same consumer, which is the 25 to 45-year-old woman with disposable income that wants to invest in herself. Of course, we have a lot of male customers, and of course, we have younger and older people. But that's the core consumer. And what's great is when you learn how to market to her the right way and speak her language, you can do it from different brands as long as you're speaking authentically with that brand voice, but speaking to her actual need. And I think so many times people, well, we got this marketing department for this brand and this marketing has a different direction for that brand. And these people, I think if they would strip it all back, they'd realize, wow, who is our avatar? Because it's maybe the same avatar, or maybe we have two avatars. So let's focus on that versus trying to scoop it all up. And you'll get the
Yeah.
other stuff anyway. If you do it right, you'll get the other stuff anyway. But
Yeah.
that's the biggest mistake is they bolt on. I mean, it's as vivid as that picture in your mind. Like they're literally just, bolting this thing out with a rivet gun, even if it doesn't fit, and no wonder there's problems in the future.
Yeah. And I mean, any company you're with or any brand, even outside of franchise, I think trying to be too many things to too many people gets so many companies in trouble. So I
Oh,
love that
certainly.
idea of one avatar. And then how do you just fulfill that person's world with different brands within it? Which, I mean, I am like your ideal avatar. So I'm like, yes, like,
Yeah. Big deal. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's very many aspects of my life that, can cater to me. It's not, just one thing. So I love that way of thinking about it
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
as well.
I mean, I think, so our customer acquisition, our friend of approach is the same. If you went to our discovery days, we literally have a gorgeous discovery room. And if you come on a Friday when it's a RockBox, you'll see this threefold picture of a RockBox studio and then a couple people doing the workout behind you on the walls. If you come, the next Friday, that same room, you'll see, the threefold picture of a beam light sauna studio and then two people sauning in the back because we run the same exact play for both brands. Like we don't
Yeah.
just we don't just say, hey, franchisees, you should do it this way because it's a system. We run the same kind of system in here. Like this is how we do it. A discovery day, brand agnostic. This is
Yeah.
how we attract a consumer, brand agnostic. The only difference is when you get to the end, it's how do you fulfill that brand promise operationally. And that's going to be different per brand, right? That's going to be different per brand.
Yeah. Yep. And so yeah, for like Beam, for example, even when you were initially testing some marketing to talk about like consumer marketing tactics, what did you find worked well? Like what are you doing now that's working well? What's kind of like working for you guys on the marketing front right now?
Because it's you, I'll admit this. So I'm what I am good at, when I'm not good at creative stuff, I have gotten fairly good at, over the last 18 years at copywriting and was pretty proud of that. And was actually one of the guys that I was disappointed when dynamic creative came out on Meta, on Facebook and Instagram, because all the A/B testing that I got really good at, all of the little tweaks I would make to copy, moving an emoji one place to the other, and then of course I taught this to my marketing team. Again, I wanted to learn it myself first, and then I taught it to my marketing team, and they've gone beyond. I have to go out and ask them questions now because they've gone beyond what I had learned. But all that, was kind of just thrown out the window with dynamic creative because it'll do it automatically,
Mhm.
which is a lazy person's way to do it, but it's more efficient. So, it bummed me out because I thought, damn, that's going to give the competitors an easier way to do something that I spent a lot of time and money to figure out. But I'll tell you, there's a gentleman in the fitness industry that is a great friend and a good colleague, and I respect the hell out of him, named Mike Arce, with a firm called Loud Rumor, and they're one of our strategic partners. But Mike reached out to me, and it's like a Saturday night. It's like, man, I got to talk to you, and he was so excited about Chat GPT, and
Uh-huh.
OpenAI, and the possibilities. And of course, I heard about it and read about it, and talked about it in the office, but I'm not the kind of guy that would just embrace technology. I would be what you'd call a laggard when it would come to that. And I'm not an early adopter. And I, figure out, get all the bugs out of it, all the stuff. And then when it's fine, I'll go buy the iPhone 10 or whatever after you figured out everything. I don't need the iPhone 11. And well, I'll wait till the 15 and then get the 15 or something, right? But he laid out for me really what, that if you don't play this game, if you don't jump in and go fast, speed of trust, and embrace AI. And for today, it's Chat GPT. There'll be a million competitors soon, I'm sure. If you don't embrace that and use it, it's game over.
Yeah.
It is a matter of time. And I don't know why the way he said it, the way I heard it, maybe I just the respect I have for him. I literally turned to my wife and I said, starting Monday, I'm figuring out how to use this for a benefit and how to maximize our business. And I don't care how good a copywriter I think I am. I'm going to use ChatGPT to at least go faster and test more and do more. And so I'll tell you, Of course, I always test things with my own money. I'd never want to test something with a franchisee's money. So I went into chat GPT and I said, hey, write me, 5 headlines, 5 blocks of copy for an infrared sauna studio that for an offer that has scarcity and urgency. No, I think I said that, and then it queued it and did it. And then I add scarcity and urgency, and the damn thing added scarcity and urgency. And then I said, add high converting emojis. And then it put these emojis in different places that made total sense with the copy. And I thought, okay, I'm going to cut and paste these into a new campaign and try this. And I'll be damn eared if it right now isn't at my studio that I own, the lowest cost lead and the lowest cost per thousand that I have right now. And it's humbling because you're like, damn, I've spent a decade honing that skill.
Owning a craft. Yeah.
But you know what? You can keep trying to sell horse and buggies, right? Or you can buy a car, buy an automobile. And that's, I think Chat GPT is going to be, I think that technology, maybe not that server, but it will be what the internet did to your generation, my generation. I think Chat GPT is going to do have the same cataclysmic, what am I trying to say? This monumental change for the better for the people that are willing to use it.
Yeah. And I completely agree. I was actually going to ask you about this. So you brought it up first, but
Sure.
it is one of those things where like, it when you see it, that this is different. This is not just like a shiny WYSIWYG that's like cool and like, okay, it'll have its moment and be gone. Like this was kind of game changing. And have you used Jasper at all?
Yep. So that's the first one we used. So we used
Okay.
Jasper for like newsletters and emails. I haven't used Jasper for ad copy, but we use it for a ton of emails, member communications. I don't think franchisee communications, but basically any member communication that we want to build campaigns around. 52 weeks of newsletters, that we can do. It's crazy and it's good. And you'll love this if you want to put a little anecdote. Again, I told you I was a late adopter. So Jasper came out first, or at least we got access to it first. And my director of finance, who is a younger guy and all about tech, he's like, we should use Jasper. And I said, there's no way that Jasper is going to be able to write an email that will convert as well as mine and have the same open rate. I mean, I always said that out loud, like how very boastful. So I wrote one and he goes, give me just like one line from each of your paragraphs. So I asked as a starting point, as a jumping off point for Jasper. I'll write it. Then we'll give it to your director of marketing and ask her which is the better one. And then we'll run it. Like game on. She goes, like I said, read those. Don't tell her which one. You know the answer. You know what the punchline. Which one do you think is the best? She goes, I clearly think the one on the right, whatever is better, which was Jasper. And son of a gun, split test those with 300. I think the studio like 300 numbers, and it had I don't know if it's statistically significant, but it was a higher open rate. So it was kind of my first entree into, all right, check your ego. Let's use this technology and and go for it. And so when GPT came out, I was like, I'm all in. I'm just chips in the middle. Let's go.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then I guess on the flip side, like I enjoy writing and I'm pretty good at it, but not like awesome. Like I wouldn't even say that I'm that awesome at it. So for me to have it as a tool, it kind of writes that ugly first draft for me, gets things going. Like I know what I want to say and the goal of it and some of those pieces, but just getting that first line down can be such a struggle for me.
Yep.
That I feel like it just accelerates that V1. I can polish, make it my own, edit it as needed or add a little bit more brand personality, but at least like it totally drops the like 2 hours of painful first draft for me down to like 30 seconds. And I'm like, thank you. Like you completely unstuck my world.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that was perfect verbiage. You've got to add the brand polish.
Yes.
The AI, maybe generation 3.0, probably, will be even crazier and add all that, right? And have the nuances. I found that 1.0, you still need to make it your brand because it's not necessarily going to be your brand voice, but darn if it doesn't give you a lot of bones to put that brand voice around. And again, if we can 10x our output as marketers using something like Jasper, using something like ChatGPT, again, we're still it's our personality. Everyone's worried about their job being obsolete. Well, if you were a terrible writer, then yeah, your job's probably gone. But most people listening to this podcast have accomplished something in their career to even want to follow this podcast. And that probably is around persuading, influencing through writing and communication, AI is not there yet. And maybe 2 generations of it from now, it can get much, much closer, but a human will still feel that human touch. And I think that's where the brand voice comes into play. Because if not, everybody's going to use this, and then all the communication will look the same, and then people will tune out. Just
Hmm.
like they are with a lot of the ads they look exactly like every other ad. So I don't believe that this is going to anybody that will take it and apply it in a way that they can build upon, like almost like standing on the shoulder of giants. They're going to only do better. It's the people that didn't maybe have the skills in the first place that just use it at face value. Their stuff's going to look exactly like everybody else's. There won't be any separation. Or the people that shun it, that's going to be a short road.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know we're coming up on time. I literally can
Sure.
talk to you forever, so I'm glad I'm going to see you in like less than
Yeah.
a month at IFA. But I
Yeah,
do have
absolutely.
some more questions that I want to get to.
Please.
And number one being, or the first one up, what books are you reading right now? Because I know you're an avid reader. You have your team read, so I'm curious on what your favorite latest book is right now that I can steal.
Yep, absolutely. So it's funny you asked that. So I am almost through the Checklist Manifesto, which
Okay.
is I think like 2009. Actually, one of our franchisee prospects recommended it to me, and it's written by a physician, and his understanding and his explanation of how they reduced infection rates and all that. Then he goes to look at airlines and how pilots started doing checklists back in the 50s, I think, and crashes went down to almost nothing. And just the importance of a checklist, even if you know it cold, having a checklist. So
Mm,
it's been a really kind of an interesting book. Before that, in fact, I think I've got like 2 chapters left in that. Then I got the Checklist Manifesto, and I wanted to read it because it came as a recommendation from a franchisee. But before that, and on my bedstand right now is three market discipline, the discipline marketer. I could go to my Amazon thing and find it here, but it was written in 95, and it's really, I can sum it up. It talks about, you've got to pick where you're going to be excellent: low
mm,
price,
mm.
customer experience, fastest, whatever it is, you got to pick that. And that's what you do. And then
Yeah.
you own that. And then don't worry about, we're not going to be the cheapest ever. We're never going to be the fastest, right? We're going to be this, or, hey, we're going to be the cheapest, which means everything we do has to be, taking that out. And I'll email it to you as soon as I have it, if you want to post it in the notes or whatever. But yeah, that one is, that was great. And then, I think we talked about this a lot, but I'm a huge fan of biographies. I believe that it gives you a front row seat to exactly how it happened, not the theory
Yes.
behind it, right? That's
Yeah.
I gotta say, like when I'm reading Checklist Manifesto and some of these others, they're very academic,
Yeah.
and they feel academic. Where a biography is a story with all those lessons in it, all those business lessons and those life lessons. So I got on a roll. I read the founder of Chipotle, the CEO
Oh.
of well, actually, he wasn't the founder. He was the CEO. So he came in as number two, but he became the CEO. Amazing story. Believe it or not, the founder and CEO, who's been a CEO and not, and back and forth a couple times, of Vans shoes,
Oh, yeah.
and just a cool story. But around again, you can never lose if you don't quit. He kind of had that mentality, and just him going up against Nike and all and how he found that niche and really exploited it. So you know, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Rockefeller. I read all those because to me, it's like, wow, the teachers, that actually did it is teaching me, not somebody who interpreted what they think happened. So, for any of your listeners, I would suggest, and it really doesn't matter, just go in that top 20 list on Amazon of business biographies. And to me, I learned at an exponential rate when it's told in story form. I think we all do.
Mhm.
But it also gives you an appreciation that none of this is an overnight success. Like all these men and women who have been successful, it they put the time in. They put the time in and made a lot of mistakes and corrected those mistakes and were humble about it. So I think there's a lot of life lessons in those biographies.
Yeah, and I think the Chipotle one is love is free, guac is extra.
Yes, yes.
Being in Denver, I know the length that it takes to build a brand. Literally, I lived right next to the very first Chipotle that had
Wow.
been around forever. And like all of a sudden, it got big, however many
Yeah.
years later, it's like, yeah, no, it's been there forever,
A
grinding
long,
away, trying to build a business, like not
yeah.
fast. So
And restaurants and food, I'm worrying fitness and self-care, which, nothing, the sauna never spoils or goes out of date or, like, but just the supply chain logistics and the
oh
stuff you
man.
talked about in there, just the cold chain supply, all that. Well, you can have it. I'm not a restaurateur. You can have it.
Awesome. Well, last question for you, which is the same one that I asked last time, but maybe you'll have a different answer. I'm not sure. It just kind of comes out from the heart. What
Sure.
does being a great marketing leader mean to you?
Hmm. I think I remember how I answered that last time. And I think I said it, it's not just marketing. It's any, a leader is a leader. What I would tell you that I've learned the last year since we've talked is leaders need to slow down, especially at the pace of business today. I have found myself and my intentions for 2023 are to slow down. And when I have a team member come in, to stop, fold my laptop, physically turn my chair and engage them in a conversation, or even go over. I've got a little table and chairs in here, go over there so they have my full attention. I know I was guilty in 2022 and many years before that of typing, uh huh. And then what happened? Okay, yeah, sure. Okay, then just go do this. And just I give them a solve right there versus what do you think you should do? Or tell me why you'd make that decision. Well, if I weren't here today, what decision would you make? Why would you make that decision? What are the pros and cons of that? And making the journey theirs. I'm a huge for, the older you get, I think maybe this is, I sound like parents now, but you want to give back more. And what I love, and I mean love, is helping young professionals develop if they want to, right? Of course, they have to be
Yeah.
willing and they want that. But if they want that, I will pour into them because that happened to me with a few, not a lot, but a few key supervisors or bosses that I had. And to this day, I look back on some of that wisdom and still quote that wisdom. So I think to answer your question, a leader is a leader, whether you're marketing or you're whatever, you're marketing, you just got to make sure you stay on the top of it, the bleeding edge, like chat GPT, like we talk about. But man, we're going so fast. The world's going fast. Speed wins, yet speed doesn't win when you're leading people. Actually, stillness sometimes win when you're leading people and just listening and hearing them and not solving. I mean, guys are worse than the gals at this, where I just want to solve your problem. Give me what's the problem? All right, there's 3 options, go. And I've learned through marriage that's not how you should do it. So maybe just listening. What would you? What do you suggest? So I think hopefully if we end up doing this next year, I hope I have a learning to share with you that's not just the same thing. And certainly my learning this past year has been slow down and give your people the time they so deserve. They so deserve. So just slow down, give them time. The work will be there when you get back.
Yeah, I love that. And it's a great life lesson as well. I know being a parent of some young kids, it's like there is, you can multitask sometimes, maybe cooking and like doing something, but like you got to put some screens down and like look at your kid. Like if you want to raise a human that looks at others and cares about others, you have to look at them and care about them.
Our actions are speaking so loudly they can't hear what we're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I think as marketing leaders too, like the point of slowing down, like you're thinking about investing in them. And the funny thing is, if you're not doing that, you're thinking you're being productive over here and like getting more done when in reality, you could get more done through your team by just investing in them and stopping with them. So it's like almost counterintuitive the other way, no matter what.
The
Um,
high, the higher you go, even if you own the company, but the higher up you go, and the only way to scale is to get yourself in a position as a leader where you're really compensated or building enterprise value for doing two things: getting the right people on the bus in the right seat, which is 101, but easier said than done, and making great decisions like that. Because at the end of the day, your team may come to you and say, "Look, we've already brainstormed this, Roger. I'm not coming for you to walk me. What do we do here?" Okay, well, here's what we do, right? And we have to make the right decisions. A lot of times, they will make the right decisions if you give them the opportunity to walk them down that path. But at the end of the day, a leader is paid to have the right people on the bus in the right seats doing the right thing with ultimate clarity, line of sight goals, and two, at crunch time, making good decisions. because, just one bad decision or one good decision can radically change the course of your business and your life. So I think that's another lesson I've learned in the last year or two is I can't do it all and I shouldn't do it all. And I should help others learn how to do it as well.
I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. Well, thank you so much again for your time. This was so much fun. If
Yeah.
there is a brand out there who feels like they might be a good fit for ThriveMore Brands, where can they reach you?
Yeah. I think the easiest and best way is just reach out through LinkedIn, Roger Martin, RogerMartin, and you'll type that in with Beam, Light Sauna, or RockBox Fitness or ThriveMore. My profile should pop up. And I get a lot of messages, but I'm pretty good at responding to the vast majority of them. And certainly if somebody has a business that's in that emerging state, young state that they're really looking for guidance and help, and they want to, even if they have franchise or they're looking to franchise, we'd love to talk to them if it's in the health and wellness self-care space. And if not, I'll certainly refer them to somebody that may be able to help them if we can.
Awesome. Well, Roger, thank you again so much. And we'll have to bookmark next January for our next conversation then.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time.